Senator McDowell.
The first thing I'd like to mention this morning is that in the course of yesterday afternoon and evening, the Seanad Reform Implementation Group completed its work, and I hope to be in a position to circulate to the Taoiseach and to members of the Oireachtas the final text of our work within the next 7 days. And I want to take this opportunity to thank the members of this House for their cooperation and their enthusiastic support for the work of the group, and to indicate to them that their constructive approach to everything has resulted in a text, I think, of which we can all be proud.
Forget about it. Be constructive this morning.
As this House is aware, of course, there are two houses in the Oireachtas, and it is likely that the bill will be introduced in Dáil Éireann, so that we will have the people's direct representatives' views on the matter before we get to see it in this House. But in the end, the people of Ireland voted to retain Seanad Éireann, and the members of the implementation group took that mandate to implement and to come up with ways in which the Manning report would be implemented seriously and address their task with great diligence. And I also want to point out that the government programme, which is about to be extended, we hear, by agreement between party leaders, if that's going to happen, also entails the implementation of the Manning report. So the legislation will be there, will be available for the Dáil and the Seanad to consider in the fullness of time, and I hope that it leads to its adoption and passage very quickly. I would like to emphasise, of course, that it's acknowledged that a radical reform of the kind proposed will take time to implement, and I want in particular to thank the members of this House, including my colleague Senator O'Sullivan, for his constructive input into the actual phasing in of these of the new arrangements. Regarding Downing Street and what is happening there, I just want to say this. We have to be careful in this House that we don't forget what is happening. Brexit is a tragedy for this country. Ireland is losing its greatest ally in Europe if Brexit proceeds.
May not.
And Ireland, it may not proceed, but in Ireland, that is what we are witnessing. And therefore, while sympathy may go to a person who is battling for a particular position, nonetheless, it should be remembered that Mrs May has set her face against allowing the British people to have a final say in whether they do or do not want to leave the European Union on the terms that she has negotiated. And I just wanted to put on the record that, from my point of view, there are a few basic facts. It was she who articulated the proposition that no deal was better than a bad deal. It was she who while being a nominal Remainer, failed to convince the British public to reject the Brexit referendum. It was she who told the British public when she became Prime Minister after David Cameron there would be no snap election. It was she who broke that promise, had a snap election and delivered herself into the hands of the Democratic Unionist Party and gave them a large say over what happens in Westminster on this issue. And finally, it is she who has brought us to this position. So all I'm saying is that whereas I think most of us would have a sympathy for a person embattled in the circumstances in which she is, and in some sense wish her well, the simple fact is that the underlying project which she has embarked upon is very damaging to Britain, to Ireland and to the European Union, and we should never forget that.